Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pro Wrestling World Talks with Dan and Mac.
Seems like we've had to do that a lot on this program as of late. I'm Dan Burke, the host of Pro Wrestling World Talks. I am finally joined by my Hedra life mate and co-host Mac after he was on assignment last week in New York City. Unfortunately, we have to start the program talking about in a situation of in memoriam as Psycho Sid Vicious, real name Sid Justice, real name Sid Eady. Also, he was Lord Humongous in Memphis as well. Passed away this week after a private battle with cancer. He did not make it public. Apparently, it was non-Hodgkin. Apparently, it was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And private battle with it the last few years, and this one kind of is rough because and the reason why, and because people consider me kind of like a wrestling aficionado, and I've been called like almost like a professor as my knowledge and stuff is concerned over the years.
Professor Dan.
Yes. Dan. I feel like that should be a segment. It's just be like, ask Dr. Dan, and he'll just give you some explanation or get like, who knows?
Paging Dr. Dan.
Something.
Dr. Dan. Paging Dr. Dan.
It's God, you were missed on the last program for that.
I gotta say, I watched it obviously because I did some editing for you guys after the fact when I got back, and I was actually like really upset with some of the conversation that I missed. But you guys knocked it out of the park as always. So
yes, definitely we'll have Evan back on again. Of course, Dave is always a treat. But yeah, it was a really fun episode. I'm sorry you missed it. I'm sure, though, that you didn't miss the fact that we went until like 2:00 in the morning like here on the East Coast.
All right, so hold on a second. Let me jump in on that because that's actually a good part. I told you that I was going to post, say, 2 or 3 hours of background, basically.
All the graphics and layouts. Yes.
Yep. And I got back Friday. I was shot. It was one of those vacations where you go on vacation. Or assignment, excuse me. I've already let the cat out of the bag there, so whatever. I already fucking let the cat out of the bag, whatever. And
this was leisure. It wasn't work. Oh.
Well, we'll get to that. So really, it was vacation, but there was an assignment too. But unfortunately, I failed at that. But it was one of those vacations where you need a vacation from your vacation. It was a lot of walking around. Anybody that's been into any real city, but especially New York City, kind of knows that. But the one thing I will tell you that I failed at is going around Times Square and seeing 0 wrestling signs. I was very disappointed.
That was the only time that I ever went to Times Square. Actually, I drove into it, but I actually went to Times Square in 2001 and actually ate at WWF New York. I made that a point that I at least had to go. I was in town for a Yankee Red Sox game. And this is before going to New York in 2001 before everything happened is almost like a distant memory. It's like, because everything is still kind of intact, that landscape.
I think it's also a good part of enemy territory at 2001, there was still very heavy sediments of New York versus Boston. So
Yes.
that's another factor too.
I did not wear any Red Sox garb in New York City. I was not. My brother actually did ask. We went to when we got there. He's like, "Does anybody have any Boston merchandise?" And everything said Boston sucks on it. So pretty much it was. We talk about 2001, and it's almost just like everything gets brought back because we were talking about Sid, and the horrific end of his major in-ring career that began that year at WCW Sid. Of course, one of the last pay-per-views that WCW had ever produced, but also produced one of the most memorable moments in all the wrong ways, as his leg looked like it V'd. It was horrific, and also you felt bad from the standpoint of why the hell were you doing that, number one? And you find out later that John Laurinaitis was actually the agent that booked that and said, "Oh, can you do that spot?" And he's just like, "I've never really tried it before." And Lord knows he tries and horribly fails. And it wasn't like he himself failed, Sid. It's just his leg did, because you're not really supposed to jump off of a height like that on one leg at 325 pounds when you're also 6'9". Gravity won that day, folks. And it's just terrible. Like, it's a terrible way as far as in-ring careers is concerned. This is one of the worst endings, just because it happened in a matter of seconds, and it also was, you saw the Bret Hart kick. You didn't see the after effects because everything was interior. This, you saw the immediate after effects, and will never get it out of your skull. Like, as far as in-ring, and there's other ones too, of Ricky Steamboat when he got DDT'd on the floor by Jake the Snake Roberts. It was legitimately knocked down unconscious. You can look back on that now with knowing what we know now about concussions. You think to yourself, how the man is still alive is beyond me. There are moments in the ring, and I've seen enough of them. Brock Lesnar falling on his head, trying to do a shooting star press. The Joey Mercury incident with the ladder in, I believe, Armageddon 2005, 6. Might have been 6.
5 or 6. Yeah, I don't remember either.
Yeah, I think it was 6 because I was at 5. It was 2006.
Oh.
But the bridge of the ladder hitting him in the face and literally almost tearing his nose off, that was gruesome.
Yeah,
I have seen, and this is going back to an entire kind of, Tommy Young, when he got his neck injury, I remember seeing that. This is also in recent times because of YouTube. But there have been moments where you're just like, Jesus. This was probably as bad as anything that I had ever seen. And Sid kind of always got made fun of that for it. I can understand sometimes injuries or botches and things like that, but making fun of someone for literally having like their leg completely V, it is the equivalent of what happened to Joe Theismann in that Monday Night Football game against Lawrence Taylor.
Absolutely,
that is the equivalent of that. The leg just, and the fact too that one was involved with Scott Steiner, who's just a complete wild man, and Lawrence Taylor causing that injury, who's again complete wild man. It just seems like the coincidences. But it's a testament too, though, that I feel like that his kind of career, people just that's what it sums up to, was the injury at Sid. And the man was a WrestleMania eventer twice.
Yep.
Main evented at WrestleMania 8 right against Hogan. Of course, people go, "Oh, it's a double main event." you're right. It was a double main event.
Your
But
point
the last
is, he still
match
main evented?
the last match was Sid and Hogan, and he main evented. And 5 years later against The Undertaker. And both matches probably not critically acclaimed as many people probably want it to be. But he wasn't someone that I looked at and said, this man's got to have the best possible. Like, you don't look at this guy and think to yourself, he is supposed to have a Will Ospreay or a 5-star Dave Meltzer classic. Even though he was involved in one of my favorite matches ever, which is War Games 91, for a lot of the wrong, maybe for all the wrong reasons, considering. So the War Games matches for WCW had a roof on it. And that roof was very low. Probably about, like, he's 6'9", so it was probably at least a 7.5 foot to maybe an 8 foot clearance. And he brought Ryan Pillman up for a power bomb. And it's still, he brought him up for the first one and literally dropped him on his shoulder and neck. It looked like it killed him. And then the second one legitimately knocked him out. Because of the low clearance in the roof, he tried to get him up high. And the first one, he compensated, landed brutally. And then the second one was just, he's already almost like a sack of potatoes at that point, and he fell like a bag of cement.
Yep.
Loud and hard. And it's...
That's the way your mother likes it, Trebek. Sorry, that's immediately where my mind went for that one. I apologize.
Here we are trying to memorialize this.
I know.
And we're
This is always the way things go with us. I know.
Yes. I mean, people, that's why they come back for more. It's like, well, nothing less. We don't even have Mac as an avatar anymore. He's just like, you know what? Fuck this.
No, I got something going on. I got a video up. You should be able to see it right now. I got something else. I worked on this. I'm good to go.
Yes, it's working. It's working now.
Camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, camera 2, camera 1.
Here we got Martin's fucking Scorsese over here. I think it's my first F-bomb. I'm proud of myself.
That's a bad word.
I know. It's okay. I understand. But in my opinion, Sid might be the greatest squash match wrestler ever. You put him up against one or two guys. When he used to just brutalize guys on his march to WrestleMania against Hogan, when he would kill these guys and then get them on the stretcher, and then he would confiscate this person on the stretcher, and then, like a wild man, would just at full speed drive the fucking thing into the steps, and everybody would just crash and burn. It was hysterical.
Do you remember when Big Show took Rey Mysterio on the stretcher and just like swung him at the post? I always would have seen like a guy like Sid be able to do that too. I thought he was such a great big man that it just would have worked.
He was fantastic, and I don't care. Everybody's like, he had two moves, but they were fucking fantastic. He had the choke slam and the power bomb, and he made both look like you got hit with a goddamn atom bomb.
That's all he needed.
That's all he needed. Like, he was menacing looking. He had charisma. He cut a decent promo when he remembered his lines. But he could cut a decent promo. Like, and he just looked menacing. He's somebody that, like, when Shawn Michaels made him as a bodyguard, I'm like, why hasn't somebody done this sooner? You know, have him go out there and kind of just, he was a horseman, and Flair didn't like that he was a horseman at one point. And it was just like, but why? Why do you get mad at this? Oh, because he's not Tully Bland. He can't work like Tully. Yeah, but you know what? Why don't you have somebody in there that could be an equalizer that at 295 fucking pounds that could kill somebody, instead of just like a bunch of guys that could work 60 to 40 to 60 minute matches every night. I get it. You guys like to work, but he fits. Like, he just does. You need somebody that's going to not an equalizer, because of course Arn had to be, it's just something in retrospect that I look at now as the Horseman, and I'm just, as a fan, and I'm just like, they were mad at the fact that Sid was a part of it, and it's just like, but nothing changes for you guys. Oh, Arn's not the enforcer anymore because now Sid's involved. It's like, Arn doesn't have to be the enforcer. He can just,
exactly.
He's still the enforcer, but he doesn't have to call him the enforcer. All he has to call him is like the insurance policy or whatever the hell he is. I don't know. Like, I didn't understand that whole he wasn't a good horseman. Why? Why wasn't he a good horseman in your eyes? Like, why? Oh, he couldn't work. He had too much. Who gives a shit? In the end, it's like, if you're over, if you come out and immediately captivate an audience in the wrestling business, you're over. Sid was over. Perfect example, Survivor Series 1996. They were cheering him on to win the title and beat Shawn Michaels, who was the baby face. Not only that, Sid took a video camera and attacked an elderly man, and they still cheered him like crazy.
Oh, man.
In the garden. Excuse me, I'm drooling at this, but at the same time, it's like I'm just trying to get my point across here. When you're passionate sometimes about this, just, but it's
phlegm flies, baby.
Yes, it's just phlegm flies, baby. 605 on Superstation. Cody, my boy. Baby. I have seen the lights. Might be a new character now. Might be. I'd have to see that. That might work.
I love how we got to this place. We're supposed to be eulogizing Sid. We're up to Dusty now.
Coming up ideas, yes. But no, with Sid, he immediately had a presence about him. When he came in 91, that goddamn Sid Justice music too. Jim Johnson classic. They've never really given a major release. I had to get the figure too of him with that giant perm fucking hair he had back then too.
Yeah. Yep.
Not the short look. I like the big fucking wavy hair that he had, because he looked like a complete madman. But I still remember SummerSlam 91 when he came out as the guest referee. And at the end of the match, Hogan called him out. And he had like a pose down with him in the garden. And even then, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, is he grooming him? Like, is this being like, now, is he the next guy? And then, of course, 6 months later, they do the heel turn, which being a Hulkamaniac in 1992, not knowing any better, going into that WrestleMania, you thought Sid was going to kill him. You thought Sid was going to murder Hulk Hogan in Indianapolis. Of course he didn't. Hogan must pose. The Ultimate Warrior had to come back. Papa Shango was involved. Papa Shango missed his cues, so Sid kicked out of the leg drop, which nobody in WWE had done that.
They wouldn't have if Papa Shango made his cue, but
Yeah, exactly. They really protected the shit out of that thing.
They really did.
It was funny when he was a heel. Then he was just like, I could use 10 of these and still somebody could kick out. It's like, that's true.
Yep.
He
Yeah, not wrong.
did that to Goldberg. But it's
Cornbread, damn it, cornbread.
it's still there are so many moments with Sid I can look back on though fondly, like when his time in ECW, the brief period it was, but he was perfect in ECW because all he had to do was go out there and again powerbomb and a chokeslam, powerbomb and a chokeslam. That's Paul Heyman's genius.
And Paul knew that
It's like,
too. That's the
he
thing.
knew it. Like of course you got to pay him. You got to pay him big bucks and you got to pay him up front. So of course he didn't stiff fucking Sid one time. I guarantee it. Like that, Sid got his money every single time. Every time he got his money, like guaranteed. But him showing up and just choke slamming and power bombing, it's like, because at 15, 16 years old, I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, yeah, I didn't need anything else. I didn't care about anything else.
Yeah.
41 years old now, and I look back on it, I'm just like, yeah, I would have done the same. I would have been going nuts too at 40. Him coming out and doing that. If he did that in AEW, I'd be like, holy shit, this is amazing. They'll take out the whole roster right now. Yeah. I mean, it's
Shut up, bitches.
That's how kind of
But
feels about that statement.
I think everybody needs to, but I think everybody, this also hit national news too. Like I saw a lot of media outlets picking this up, mainstream outlets. So he was big enough where mainstream outlets were picking it up. And to me, that shows something of the magnitude of a talent and a star that he was, and was able to have peace in his life outside of the business. You never heard about him being involved in some crazy shit. You never heard about him doing anything illegal or stupid or you look down upon, all this stuff or addiction, anything like that. You never heard any of it. Occasionally you'd hear the story that he skipped an event to go out to play softball, but that's
and
that was him.
And
that to me was just like, so what? The man likes his softball. Like, really? We're gonna have this? We're gonna complain about this?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I went on Twitter X or whatever this past week, and I at Triple H and I said, put this man in the Hall of Fame. And I went on other social medias and pretty much did the same thing. I think he needs to be in there at this point, especially now.
He should have been in a while ago. And everybody now that, of course, because the invisible hand, or more the visible hand for a long time, is gone, and somebody that finally is able to drop that act of, I don't like him, I don't want, it's about, again, fans. And I think the majority of the public, the majority of the audience would 100% agree that he belongs in the Hall of Fame.
He was a fucking world champion. Like,
multiple times in
exactly
both companies. Very few men have been able to win the WWE and WCW championship. Sid is one of them. I think it's Sid, it's Ric Flair, Bret Hart, Hogan, Savage. Like it's Kevin Nash, an upper echelon of people who have done that. Sting never did that. Think about it. Like Booker T did, DDP didn't do it. There have been guys who had done that, but it never. There were some big names that never did that. I'm sure people would be like, "Well, Rock and Austin." No, not really. Like,
but I don't count that.
I don't count that. That was
Rock
during the alliance.
Anyways, yeah. I mean, Rock never went anyways. Austin was with Brian.
He was a mid-carder. He was never world champion.
That
so
as well.
It was,
so
but Sid is a well-known name, well-known talent. I think everybody kind of responded to it, and it wasn't because I don't think anybody that watched back then, everybody knew who Sid was, because he was somebody that was in the Hulkamania era, technically at the tail end, you could say. But also, too, he was in the Attitude Era as well, and also during the Monday Night Wars. So he kind of had and was all over at one point, short couple of year window when he was in WWE. Then he was in ECW. Then he went to WCW, and then the other independent shows, things of that nature. I still remember him being in the original, not the original, but the Herb Abrams UWF. I think he was involved with too. Everybody's like, did you just mention Herb Abrams? Yes, I did. Yes. He's more in infamy of anything.
Oh, please. I'm sure half of them are like, who the hell is that?
Yeah, exactly. They're like, who is Herb Abrams? Look it up. Go on Dark Side of the Ring and they'll understand. Cocaine and cowboy boots. That's all you need to know. But yes, rest in peace, Sid. You definitely left an impact, I think, on the wrestling business. A lot of cool stories have come out. The Rob Van Dam one especially, where Rob Van Dam was actually a job guy for him in WWF at one point. And he ended up thanking him after the match and gave him $20, which he got his pay on top of the fact that he got the 20 from almost like a tip, which, I mean, that's a stand-up guy.
I mean, listen, $20 back then is like $70.
Went a long way.
Yeah, it's like
that
$70
went a long way
now.
back then.
Yep.
That got you like half a tank of gas and a really good meal.
Depends
that's
what year.
What it got you.
Depends what year.
We're talking 91, 92. That's like a half a tank of gas.
That might be a full tank in 91.
That might be a full tank and a good meal. Yeah. So you're like, oh, I made out on this trip. Like that's the interesting thing I think that's lost kind of the industry of just number one, they really don't do squash matches anymore. They're kind of dark match or enhancement match.
I don't want to say
they
that.
Don't.
They do, but it's a lot less than it was back then.
Yes. That was all Superstars in Wrestling Challenge was. It was literally a 2-hour commercial of their wares and merchandise. Get the new WWF, get WWF Royal Rumble on the SNES. The Wrestling Buddies, the new editions come out at Toys R Us. Be sure to see our aisle at Toys R Us. And then, of course, you'd have Sid kill someone. And then the next segment would be Jake the Snake Roberts having a cobra bite the Ultimate Warrior. And then the next week, the Warrior gets stuffed in a casket. Like, stuff now. Just stuff now you look back on, you're just like, wow, that's just, they really thought outside the box back then, didn't they? Like 1991, they always look back on as just like the start of the decline. And you think of so many moments back then that were just like the Cobra bite on Savage, Warrior getting bitten by the Cobra at one point, and then the bury, like they put him in the casket on the funeral parlor that one time. Like just shit, you just like I was 8 years old when this happened. What the fuck?
Hokey shit! Hokey shit!
And then the next year, Papa Shango and the Ultimate Warrior. But yeah,
hokey shit! Hokey shit!
But yeah, rest in peace, Sid. You definitely left a huge mark on this industry. A lot of cool, really fun moments, but also you left me laughing my ass off a lot too. especially with like the car, which we
That-
have
that's-
memorialized here tonight.
Yeah, I know.
The fucking car is still top. It's right up there with the Shockmaster as far as stuff that literally just makes me belly laugh every time. It's
But the
his
Shockmaster
reaction.
makes you laugh for all the wrong reasons.
It does.
This was all the right reasons. Because
And
this
he
was
just-
hilarious. Because he sold
did
it
it-
so well.
He did it brilliantly. Like, it's an absolute, like, he should have gotten an award for this.
He should have.
He should have just gotten an award. And you think about, this is something that R-Truth probably would have done at one point. But you can't do it now. You can't replicate what he did. It's still, God, it still makes me laugh so hard. It's just his reaction, and he just comes out, and he's just, why me?
Well, that was the second time.
The first one was just him yelling Goldberg.
Goldberg!
Yeah.
Goldberg! But the second one, when it was in the cube, yeah, that was when it's
Yes.
like, why me? Why? And like, listen, like both instances are hilarious. But
What is
ahead.
more iconic? The Sid screaming those or Shatner with Cod?
Same level. I'm gonna say same level. Just saying.
And we make fun of that all the time.
That's why it's the same level.
Con!
Goldberg!
Con!
Goldberg!
Why me? Why me? Just, oh God. No one ever will be able to pull something like that off again. Like it's one of the greatest moments in WCW's history that didn't involve the NWO. And that's saying a lot. Like, because there were a lot of moments I was just like, what the fuck are they doing? Like,
Well, we talked about that before. Like when Dusty joined the NWO. Like
oh
what?
God.
What is that? But
What are we doing here?
I will attack on Rest in Power King. You were one of the most, if not the most underrated big man in the history of the business. And I share Dan's sentiment with what we lost, what we gained, and everything else in between with Psycho Sid, Sid Justice. Rest in Power King.
Absolutely. I'm sure my brother is already harassing you.
Sure, a lot of people are actually, but yeah.
My brother is probably like, power bomb him. He's wanting him to power bomb people. Like, which I hope that's exactly what's happening.
Man.
Him and Vader are recreating some things up there. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
So you're gonna wear flip flops again during that.
God.
Oh my God! He was involved in that. The mini movie for Beach Blast '93. Where they blew up the boat.
Yeah.
Like him and Vader, they blew up British Bulldogs and Sting's boat. So they go and meet them. This is during their mini movie phase when they did the White Castle of Fear in early '93. And then it was Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal in '92 with Jake the Snake Roberts and Sting. And then, of course, they did this. And it's just, Sid was wearing flip-flops. That's one of the visuals I get from it. It's like, he's supposed to be intimidating these people and lots of like scaring off kids. Yet he's wearing flip-flops with his gear.
God. Oh my goodness.
He was also involved in Shockmaster because he was actually, if you listen to the audio after he falls and his mask comes off, the guy who says, "Oh God," that's actually Sid. He saw it and was like, "Oh God!" Like it was not. It was in that tone. It wasn't of the tone of, "Oh God!" No, it was just, "Oh God!" Like of just absolute. I can't believe this just happened. And then of course he goes right into selling it like $1 million, like nothing happened. I'm just like, I'm gonna kill you. Who the hell do you think you are? Like, just being able to turn that switch of just like, oh God, into I gotta sell. But yeah, no, Sid's the man and the master and the ruler of the world.
All right. I'll ask you, where do you want to go from here?
Well, I guess we need to go all in, so we might as well go all in. I am conflicted this evening. I need to get this out there because again, I try to use this as my platform. I'm conflicted on this little thing because in the Massachusetts area, of course, Fenway Park, the home of the Boston Red Sox, they will be hosting one of my favorite bands of all time next month, Pearl Jam. And I was looking at tickets earlier this evening, and I'm conflicted because I do want to see them because they are another band I want to be able to check off the old board. Seen quite a few of my favorites in my lifetime, which I'm very happy to say. I was able to see at least a version of Van Halen, not with David Lee Roth, but with Sammy Hagar, which to me that's pretty damn good. And that was with the original lineup, excluding, of course, Dave. Yeah. I've seen Ozzy on several occasions. I've seen Eric Clapton, Megadeth, Metallica twice. Once with my co-host. He went to the one it was the Saint Anger tour in 2004 during Game 2 of the World Series.
Yep.
That was interesting.
That was rough. That was rough because I remember them constantly updating that.
Yes.
Constant updates throughout the stadium. They had it somewhere else, like a TV or whatever, way across the other side of the stadium. But also, I don't know if you remember this, but Godsmack opened for them.
Godsmack
they also
did. I do remember that. Yes.
Yep.
I do remember that they opened them for them, right?
Yep. So Godsmack is also getting updates because Godsmack is from the Massachusetts, New England area as well. So they're updating live as they're getting their own updates probably sent to the stage every so often. And then I think right before Metallica came out, they gave one more announcement before the main set. So yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and I remember because that was the night before was a really close game. They won by one run, I remember, and then so I was like, oh, this is going to be a series because the Cardinals had won 105 games. So it was. But that was it was also one of the most fun concerts I've ever been to on the standpoint of it was one of the few times I have been in the city of Boston where everybody was in a good fucking mood. No one was pissed off. Everybody was just good. Everybody was in a good place. Everybody was, because we had just dethroned the Yankees, biggest comeback in sports history ever.
Yep.
And then we felt confident enough into the World Series, but I was still, it was just a team that I was still like, they're still a threat, guys. But in the end, it didn't matter. But going back now to this Pearl Jam situation, again, because it's like, I do want to check this off the list. But a part of me at the same time doesn't, because I don't want to go to concerts anymore. I look at them now and I just think they are a waste of money. And my 20-year-old,
You know what I think?
25-year-olds, what?
Because I'm not booked. Because I'm not booked.
I'm not booked for concerts anymore either. Listen,
I just can't.
down on Long Island, you can go to Jones Beach concerts, and I don't mind those because it's wide open spaces, right? I don't really want to sit stadiums anymore. Like, I don't know how many people remember this. You and I obviously will. We went to a few of them with Ozfest, right? Where,
Oh my
again,
God.
outdoor spaces, don't really have to worry too much. The only issue is it was really hot because it was in the summer, obviously. That was the only gripe. And we were able to find shade every so often anyway, so not a huge deal. But those are the types of concerts I would want to go to again.
The problem with the Ozfest shows that I had, and I just was talking about this tonight with stuff. They started at 8 o'clock in the morning and they went till 11 at fucking night.
Well, that's why I'm saying about the heat, because I definitely agree at that point. Like, dude, it was hot and it was a long fucking day, but it
was
fun.
So hard to deal with some people that you went with, though, and they wanted to see a certain band and they were on at like 9:30 in the morning, and you're like, I fucking hate you so much, because they're going to do 20 minutes and that's it. Because that was the second stage at Ozfest. It was like, yeah, you get 20 and that's it. Oh, fuck. You know, it the way they booked Ozfest sometimes, I felt like was how they probably booked like 3-hour nitros or something. Like, I'm just like, you get 15, you get 10, you get like, it's just because it was constant. It was just constant bands. Some of them just sounded the exact same. You didn't know which one was which because they sounded so similar every time. And of course, it was the second stage, so it's like they don't have the money or the resources that the main stage acts do. But it's hard because I want to see Pearl Jam, but at the same time, I don't, and that's where I'm conflicted. Because I looked at prices and I'm just like, they really dropped from like a few months back. A few months ago, they were in like the triple digits, and now you can get them for probably under 100. And it's still a couple of weeks out, and it's a Tuesday show. Because I want to do the Tuesday show, obviously, because it's cheaper. But at the same time, do I really want to put up with it? Like, and what if they don't play the songs I want them to play because, you know, they play Even Flow and Glorified G and Jeremy on the night that I'm not there. So I get stuff with like the back catalog of things that I'm just like, oh yeah, because I really want to hear shit from Yield.
Yeah,
You know, like or Riot Act. If I'm going to see Pearl Jam, it's like, all right, I want to hear Verses. I want to hear Vitalogy. I want to hear 10. Not every, you don't have to play them like cover to cover, but I at least want to hear some selections. It's just, but they're also one of these bands, and I'm not knocking them because they are tremendous. They're one of the best live bands in history, in my honest opinion. As far as a live show is concerned, I have been told by many, they're one of the best. Which is still kind of the thing that's still kind of drawing me to going. But I don't know. Like, it's tough because it's just, you realize at a certain point now when you get older, is it worth it? Yeah. Can I tell now my 25-year-old self, it just, yeah, you went to a lot of shows and you had some fun and all that stuff. How about that credit card debt, huh? Like, it's
heard that.
how many Ozfests, how many Van Halens, you know, like it's, you know, but now it's still a draw that I want to do it, but at the same, it's going to be one of those things I'm going to be back and forth on for a while. I'm glad also that I could come out of this program and Mac would agree that we share similar feelings about it. It's just like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. I'm not booked. Not booked for
Because
this
I'm not
anymore.
booked.
I don't know what it is. Like I still love music. I feel like my tastes have changed over the years. I like a lot of different stuff now too. But
Yeah.
I would still see, you know, all the older bands that I enjoyed back then, whether it be the Van Halens, the Pearl Jams, the Metallicas. I'd go see them again. But excuse me, having seen some of them so many times already, I'm just like, is it really worth it to spend 80, 90, over 100 even? Listen, like I am not a Taylor Swift fan, but when you're talking about tickets for one music artist in excess of $2,000,
I know.
holy shit! Like that's a little extra, if you ask me. So I just, it's one of those things. Like whether you're talking about the credit card debt or not, I just know that I don't know if I care anymore. If it's something like new and very interesting, that's one thing, right? Because then you could go to say you went, and I totally get that. But how many times do I want to see Metallica or Pearl Jam or Stained or whoever? How many times do I really want to go? And that then kind of becomes the question, especially as I get older, because I'm not a fucking skinny 135-pound fucking scrawny fuck anymore. I'm like 240 fat fuck. Like I don't want to go. I don't want to sit in those uncomfortable ass fucking seats. And we're talking about fucking Fenway Park for a second here. So let's be real. Do you want to put yourself through that?
Probably not. Like I'd rather put the money elsewhere. Like, to be quite honest, yeah, because there's still some additions to this place. I'm still, and things are becoming more organized in this room as of late.
It's not the word I would use. I would have used the word overwhelming, but
it's not. It's not as I showed you the shelf, the picture of the shelf a few weeks ago. That situation is a hell of a lot better than it was the last time you were here. And there's still things around, and we have a new co-host with Elf. He's hanging around.
Okay. I mean, listen, the last time I was there, I don't think you could even open or close that door an inch more than the position it was already in. It's
good now. It's good now. Like it's a lot better. It's not as overwhelming because pretty much a lot of the figures that were out are now put away. At least the wrestling ones, because going through David's stuff, I have procured a lot more horror figures than I could have imagined. Which a lot of it's a lot of it's the stuff that I bought for him too, which is hilarious.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
It's like, oh, he still had this, and I'm glad that I was able to get it back, and it's still very bittersweet. It's like going through stuff like that because you tend to think it's just like you never forget. But then you got to go through it again every time you go look at a box that he had and stuff. It can get to a point where you're like, it still felt like it happened yesterday. Christ.
Yep.
Yep. So let's actually talk about, I guess, what we need to talk about here. Because I've been putting it off. I didn't even want to preview it. Like when we did the show last week, we didn't even want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it because it's just I don't want to be bothered. I don't even want to be bothered. I look at this promotion as still one that is in a death spiral. And I know people are saying, well, they're going to get a new rights deal. They're going to get a new rights deal. but it has nothing to do with the rights deal. They're getting all this stuff, right? They're getting all this, they're going to get their money and that stuff, but there's probably going to be clauses in that deal that if they hit certain levels, they've lost 40% of their audience in the last year. After they fired CM Punk last year, they dropped 70% in their merchandising. Yeah, they drew over 50,000 people at Wembley. They couldn't sell 2,000 tickets tonight for fucking Dynamite in Champlain, Illinois. Mind you, also, they have a pay-per-view in about 10 days from now, too, right after this show. Because that makes sense.
I don't get why they're doing that again. Last year it was a week. Now it's 2 weeks this year, but it's like, it's still too soon. Let it sit, you know?
You had a major stadium show where you drew over 50,000 people, which is supposed to be your version of WrestleMania. Allegedly. I mean, I've seen the pictures. And I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to sit here and someone is going to sit and say, oh, you know, you really can't. Hey, look, no. Like, I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to talk about the numbers. I could care less.
I think the numbers are embarrassing year over year. That's the only thing I'm going to say. I know it was a smaller stage this year, and I get that. But if you're looking at pictures that were posted to social media, no matter where you saw them, there were empty seats, and there were seats marked out, right? Like with the black tarps and everything. And if you remember, you specifically remember this, you were at the Royal Rumble this past year.
Yes.
You saw how much space was on the field itself.
Yes.
It looked like an even bigger size of a space that was empty at All In.
Yes.
So for me, listen, like, I'm not going to argue about those numbers either. All I'm seeing, like, if you go on Wikipedia, you go on other social medias, you see 50,000 plus. Is that the number? I don't know. I don't know what the confirmed number is going to look like by the time we find it out. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. At the end of the day, I personally don't care. I just don't.
I don't. I only try to keep up with it for the business side of things. You know, of course, there's talent I like in that company that I want to know about. There's talent that I want to focus on. There's also a lot of talent in that company that I have soured on. FTR, MJF currently.
I don't know if that's his fault, but yeah.
Like, there's just certain things right now that I'm just that I'm soured on of talent, and it's either because of their booking or just the way that they are conducting themselves on social media or just in and out of the ring that I'm just not liking.
But Dan, it's where the best wrestle. I'm glad I had my camera up for that one.
Yeah.
That nice obscene gesture of yours. And now that the camera's on him, he's not going to do it on the actual camera. He'll do it underneath the camera because Anyway, I figured this. Let's run through all these matches real quick. We're not going to stop until the very end. We'll discuss it holistically as an event. So I didn't include the results. We'll go through that as we go through this.
I'll give my reactions I'll give very short reactions.
All right, we can do it that way too. I'm not going to name all of these.
Generalize it. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not going to name all of these people because this is a ridiculous match in my opinion. It opens with the 0 hour, the pre-show, with a 16-man tag team match. 16 dudes. Your thoughts?
In other words, creative has nothing. In other words, creative has nothing for you.
Which boggles my mind because you got guys like Jay Lethal in this match. Like,
yeah, has Jay Lethal been booked in any sort of relevancy in AEW? Ring of Honor.
The first month or two, maybe. First month or so, maybe. All right, you know what? Before we even go on, let's discuss this too, because I read this earlier and I think this is just obscene. The commentators for the show are Excalibur, Tony
Sock
Schiavone.
face. Yep.
They're there the whole time. Taz is only there for the pay-per-view, not for the pre-show. Nigel McGuinness, who made a return, was there for the first two pay-per-view matches. Jim Ross, was only there for the pre-show. Don Callis was only there for the 16-man tag team match. Those are your commentators. It's like a revolving fucking door. Sorry, hold on.
I thought they had Jim Ross for the main event.
I did say that, yeah.
Yeah, you said the pre-show.
I'm sorry. I meant the main event then, if that's the case.
That's
I'm sorry. You know why? Because Matt Menard was also there just for the pre-show. I missed Matt Menard when I said that. That's why.
Who the fuck is Matt?
I don't even fucking know, dude. All the referees were there, it looks like. Ring announcers were Justin Roberts for the pay-per-view, Bobby Cruz for the pre-show. Interviewers were Lexi Nair, who I guess is going out with freaking Big Bill, which I'm like, okay. And I don't even know this interviewer, Katie Ora, like whoever the hell that is.
I think that's MJF's girl.
Maybe. I'm not really sure. Free show hosts. This one got me, man. Madison Rain, Renee Paquette, RJ City,
Oh God,
and Jeff Jarrett. Can you imagine just being on that pre-show team, dude? Like, that's just obscene. That's like a mess of people. Like, that's just a mess of people. So that's your commentary team, essentially, and your interview team, your media team, whatever you want to call that, for your entire show. So now that I've discussed that, because I thought that was just obnoxious as well, let's go to the next match in the pre-show, or 0 hour. This was a mixed tag match. And I guess the winners could choose the stipulation for the CMLL Women's World Championship between Nightingale and Statlander at All Out.
why are you booking this for a fucking
Yep.
a CMML match, a implication match on fucking All In?
Yep. So it was Willow Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii defeating Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway. I can't. Yeah. All right. So moving on. The last match of the pre-show is another mess. It's a 10-man tag team match this time. Apparently it's the Von Erich, Sammy Guevara, Shibata, and Dustin Rhodes, with one of the Von Erichs, against the Undisputed Kingdom and Cage of Agony.
Oh my God.
Because who the fuck cares? I don't get it.
Who cares?
Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. So then, moving on. The first actual match of the actual pay-per-view is a 4-way London ladder match for the AEW World Trios Championships.
What?
Yep. So it was Pac.
How many fucking multi-man tag team matches can you have on like the first fucking hour and a half?
3 apparently.
Jesus Christ.
So the winners of this match are Pac and the Blackpool Combat Club, consisting of Claudio and Wheeler Yuta, your favorite, Dan, defeating the I don't even know how to say that word.
Patriarchy?
Yeah, sure. There we go. Can't talk tonight, apparently. Boo ran. Which consisted of Christian Cage, Killswitch, and Nick Wayne, who were the champions, with Mother Wayne, apparently. They also defeat Big Bang Gang of Juice Robinson, Austin, and Colton Gunn.
Cornbread, damn it, cornbread.
Cornbread, damn it, cornbread.
And
That's my impression of her.
Yeah. Yeah. And also defeating House of Black, Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews. Listen, all I'm going to say is this. I don't book this as the first match of the actual show.
No.
You've already
How about
had
you
a 16-man and a 10-man, and now you have a 4-way with trios.
4 tag team title matches, 4 tag team matches in a row. Because the Willow Nightingale and Ishii, they went up against, so that's 4. You don't do 4 tag team matches in a row, especially ones that are involved like more than 10 people. Like,
I mean,
stupid.
who would have thought to have a 16-man tag match in the first place? That's just obscene to me. Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's the best way to put it right there. That reaction.
I've seen it once, and it was the WWE. They did it. They had the, I think it was the Survivor Series, and it was when they had tag teams. So it was 5 tag teams against 5 tag teams at Survivor Series of '88.
But that's Survivor Series.
The visual was sick, though, because you're seeing all these, and so many great teams are involved in that. But this is such just dumb. This is dumb match booking. It's
Because
just,
I'm not booked.
You're like, I'm just going to put all these guys together in a match. It's like, no, it doesn't work like that. You don't need to get all. You don't need. Why are you buying 16 fucking plane tickets for these guys if they're going to be on the fucking pre-show? This is why you lost $40 million last year.
It's more.
There's a shit like this.
But it's more because you have Don Callis, you have Isaiah Cassidy, Mark Quinn, Evil Uno, Sanjay Dutt, John Silver, Alex Reynolds. I mean, you have all these guys that aren't even involved in a match, and you're paying them to be there too. And it's just crazy to me. All right, let's moving on. The next match should not have happened this early in the night. Ironically enough, it technically is a headline match if you're looking at the scrolling pictures to the right. And it was Mariah May defeating Timeless Toni Storm to become AEW World Champion.
Yeah, this was kind of a surprise that this went on as early as it did because, in my opinion, it had earned the right to be later on in the card. But again, and also too, this should have, you don't have your main women's championship ahead of the mid-card women's championship. But we all know why that was the case, right? We all know why that happened.
Cornbread, damn it, cornbread.
Exactly.
I'll leave it there.
This was a great match. It was a great match. Don't get me wrong. It was exactly what I felt like it needed it to be, but it was way on too early in the show. And again, your mid-card champion should not be getting a higher bill than your women's champion. That's all I'm going to say about that for right now.
I mean, there's plenty more to talk about there, but we can wait because the next match is another mid-card title. Hook defeats Chris Jericho, the champion, for the FTW champion. The stipulation that had Hook lost, he would have never been able to challenge for the title again as long as Jericho was champion.
I almost wish somebody would just shoot on Jericho and end his career. Like, just put it out of its misery. So that way we can get done with this. Because everything he is involved in with now is just utter dog shit. It's not good. He hasn't done anything relevant in at least 2 years. I could even probably go longer. But I'll give him 2 years. And, this angle has just been going on and on. I feel like it's been going on for 6 months. And Samoa Joe was involved. It's just, hopefully this is it. If I got to see Hook and Jericho again, fuck.
Yeah. No, listen, you're not wrong because I feel the same way. They've been doing this way too long, and it's just I don't understand what's the payoff so we can be FTW champion, dude. Go after a legit title. Who after the TNT title? Like, why the FTW title? Because it was your daddy's, basically? Like, I don't get it. Like, come on.
I don't get it either.
All right. So, the next match is another tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. The Young Bucks retain against FTR and the Acclaimed.
They did FTR and the Bucks again at Wembley. Yes, it wasn't a one-on-one, a 1v1, but it was still, they were involved. Like, and I feel like their matches, it's just, I know what to expect. I mean, this was good. Don't get me wrong. Bucks winning is still kind of questionable considering the deal they kind of have where it's like, they're not at every TV. They're now under these contracts where it's like they wrestle select dates. Like they have limited dates. How they pulled that off, I still don't know. They pulled off like a Brock Lesnar deal. And they're still the champions. Now they're going up against like the grizzled young vets. They were the grizzled young vets in NXT. So, again, a tag team that really never made it past a certain level in WWE. And automatically now it's just like, oh, they're going to be challenging the Young Bucks next. It's like, don't you want some story involved with this? Like, don't you want to build these guys up and make the public know who these guys are instead of just trying to be like, prop them up like automatically they're another great tag team? Like, their tag team, that was...
Shut up, bitches.
Their inception was built on how great their tag team division was. They're like, oh, we care about tag teams. Their tag team division now is awful. Because after like 3 or 4 teams, after the Acclaimed, FTR, and the Bucks, who else do you have? Who else do you have?
Man. Yeah, I don't know. I just...
You do know.
I didn't see the point. You know what it is? I didn't see the point to it at all. I didn't see the point in bringing them out. And especially to then attack the teams. Like okay, cool. You were cool in NXT, but you didn't do anything. And now you're there, anything. And you're probably not going to do anything there either. But
you didn't do anything. Like after 2 months, like no one's going to care. So you're going to get beat by the Young Bucks, and then what? Then what?
Who knows? Who knows? All right, the next match was the Casino Gauntlet match for a future World Championship match. And none other than Christian Cage won by pinning Kyle O'Reilly.
Yes, after Luchasaurus walked out on him and turned on him during the tag team match earlier in the night, and then helps him win the Casino Battle Royale. Like, what? How? Who are you swerving here? Like,
I mean, what the fuck is that?
Boys? Like, what is that? Exactly.
I mean, what the fuck is that?
Exactly, Dan. Who is that? And then of course we had everybody's favorite Ricochet, Ricochet, make his debut. And all I need to say about Ricochet is within 24 hours of you making your debut, you made yourself look like the biggest jerk off in pro wrestling, right? And within 24 hours. Because your little spat that you had with people online, which you're making probably the most money you're ever going to make in your career. And then you're getting mad because people are saying, well, I'll watch the highlights. Which pretty much is indicative of how you are as a talent anyways, because your whole career the last 5 years has just been nothing but highlights. And that's, you're bland as cardboard. And you're out here going online, you're talking about, oh, you have an opinion, and then you get pissed off because people are getting mad at you because you're having this hissy fit on Twitter. after you just signed a huge contract with AEW. I am sure you are making more than what WWE was going to pay you.
Listen, here's what I'm going to say about this whole Ricochet thing. Very foremost, is he going to put on 5-star matches with Will Ospreay? Absolutely. Is it going to make consistent viewers out of those matches? Absolutely not.
No.
You're never going to get past your bottom line this way, Tony. You just won't. You need to sign bigger names. Nobody cares about Ricochet. But yeah, go ahead.
Like, it's just, I'm sorry to cut you off. Like,
You're fine, don't worry.
It's like, I thought about it today. I was doing the dishes and I thought about it. I'm like, Rico Santana. That's what you are. You're Tito Santana. You're a good worker. You have your moments, but at the same time, it's like you're not going to get past a certain level. There's nothing wrong with that. You're making main event money, though, when you're a mid-carder. And I'm sure that you're going to, if you ever watch this show, you're going to be like, oh, how could you say that? Blah, blah, blah. Look, I've seen enough talent out there. I've seen enough talent in your company. I'd rather pay money to see Will Ospreay. I'd rather pay money to see MJF. I'd rather pay money to see John Moxley. I'm not going to an AEW show to see Ricochet. Whenever I went to a WWE show, I never went to go see you. When I went to NXT back in 2019, the night that Adam Cole beat Johnny Gargano for the NXT Championship, I didn't pay to see you. You were on the card, but I wasn't there to see you.
Oh, shit.
That's your career. You're a guy that goes, that's your career. You're going to go up against guys that are much more talented than you because you can have a good match, and that's it. You'll make solid money doing that because you're a good worker. You're a good talent. But as far as I'm concerned, you're not as good as you think you are.
I don't even want to say that.
Like, you're just not.
I don't want to say that. I think he is incredibly talented. But here's the caveat to saying that, right? Is that he in AEW is a much better fit than he is in WWE. I'll put it that
Without question. Without question.
I just...
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I just think that he is much better suited there. I think he'll put on great matches with some of the talent there. Like I mentioned Will Ospreay, he's already had those matches in other promotions. I think he'll continue to do that. I think they'll get paired up with others that have the same type of match flow, I'll say, that is very outside of the quote-unquote WWE style. And there's nothing wrong with that. But again, it doesn't make, break, or even match the bottom line. And just to kind of go back to what you were saying before for a minute, we're talking about his social media presence, and basically somebody on social media had said, I like Ricochet, but I'm not about to tune into AEW or go out of my way to view it just for Ricochet. And he got all pissy. And it's like, dude, well, first of all, you're ostracizing your fan now by saying shit like that. Second of all, you're making so much money. Why the fuck do you care about one fan?
Exactly.
Just shut up. Accept the fact that some people are not going to watch you because they don't want to watch this other promotion. Suck it up, buttercup.
I'm sure he's heard it. I'm sure he's heard it, and now he's in a company that he can say what he wants, and he's not going to get reprimanded for it because, he's had to hear it from, I'm sure, for years, because I've said it many times. That's why I call him Rico Chet, because I couldn't take him seriously. When Brock Lesnar squashed him, I think at one of the Saudi Arabia shows right before WrestleMania 36, I think it was the same one that Goldberg beat The Fiend. But I remember the matchup that he had with Brock. It was like 90 seconds long, and he didn't get one bit of offense in. And I laughed my ass off.
Yeah.
I laughed because Ricochet is an indie darling that they tried to get something out of, and they just couldn't. They couldn't get anything more than he's a good worker. And they tried.
Yeah.
He was Intercontinental Champion at one point. I think he was U.S. Champion, maybe. But,
remember.
NXT, he was, I think, North American Champion.
Yep.
He got his opportunity on more than one occasion. If anybody wants to sit there and tell me, well, no. They gave him a shot. It was on him. It was on him. Because there are guys that can do exactly things that Ricochet can do. Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay's a better performer because he can cut a good promo. He's got a good personality. Kenny Omega's better. Do the same things. Kenny Omega's better. Can cut a good promo. Has a good personality.
This is why, though, I was saying that I think he'll fit much better in AEW. Because
and if you take Samantha Irvin from us to go, work for that company, I will never forgive you.
You wouldn't, anyways.
I wouldn't. Sorry,
right.
I keep checking online. I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
No, I got you. You're
when
following up.
Dynamite is going on, so I'm trying to get kind of like,
Kurt Moxley was looking rough.
Yeah, someone was saying that. Like, it's kind of funny.
All right. I think we're not going to get much out of the Ricochet conversation. The next match, however, was for the AEW International Championship. Will Ospreay defeats the champion MJF via pinfall in substantially less time than it took MJF to win the match originally on television.
I mean, another great match. Daniel Garcia came down and interfered, which that all but confirms that he's going to be, that I guess he's going to re-sign with the company.
Most likely,
okay. Yeah. Which is whatever. Good for him. Yeah. But, it was a good match. Again, I do question the fact, though, that I feel like having this feud was a little too soon. I feel like this is something you probably could have built up for over the next 6 months to a year. Of course, though, you're not having All In London next year, which, with Ospreay and the way he wrestles, he might not be there in 2 years. So you're taking that risk of him getting his Wembley moment.
Yeah, I did think it was kind of weird. I mean, they gave him a moment by winning the International Championship back, but I mean...
Which they renamed the belt too. They made him the U.S. champion, and they made him a belt for that. And all of a sudden, it's the end of the match. It's like, well, here's the international title again. It's like, so how much did you pay on that fucking U.S. title for? How much did you like? Are you just throwing fucking checks around with like aimlessly? Jesus.
Well, I don't know. We'll kind of get to the custom matches in a little bit, anyways, or the custom belts, in a little bit. Yes. Yeah, I mean, this was a good match. I thought it's weird for a lot of different reasons that we already kind of talked about. I don't think there's much else to say here anyways. However, the next match is another one to talk a little bit about. Champion Mercedes Moné, TBS champion, defends and retains with Camille against Dr. Britt Baker, DMD.
Holy shit.
Oh, yeah. That's the best way to put it.
The fact they put this after Ospreay and MJF also made me laugh my balls off.
Yeah, talk about taking the air out of the room, man.
Oh, my God. Well, it's just the fact that they threw more shade at fucking Britt, because it's just like, okay, you're going to go after Ospreay and MJF. Like, fucking shit. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Britt Baker might be one of the worst wrestlers to ever have a main event spot in any major promotion in professional wrestling history.
Not Mercedes Moné.
I can't entirely blame this on her because
I think they both.
I liked
shit.
the entrance with the corgis. I thought that was adorable.
Jesus Christ.
I liked the entrance. I thought that was but that was pretty much it. I hated everything else after. I hated
As
the
you
match.
should have.
I hated. Yeah, it was historically bad. Historically bad. In my opinion, it is the worst stadium show match ever, and that's saying a lot.
It is
like for a major stadium that does not involve Saudi Arabia. How about that? I'll go that far. A major stadium show that does not involve, it's in that worst category. It's up there. And I'm sure, what about the blackout match? That was a promotional fucking tactic. That was supposed to be somewhat bad. This is supposed to be a marquee big money feud that
it was not.
Had a very good opening when Britt came back. Britt came back with that great babyface promo. Then there was the suspension, and then she put on the I'm losing this match pout face for 3 weeks. We knew the outcome for 3 weeks.
Yeah. I would say we knew this for a lot longer than that. I think we knew this.
There was
when
still,
it was announced.
I think there was still, I was still thinking there was a chance that Britt Baker was going to walk out of All In with the title. There was still that light. There was that light part of me that thought there's still a chance that that's going to happen, and it didn't. All that was lost the second the suspension rumor got out, or rumor for report for that matter.
Right.
And then, of course, everything else that's been going on with like Jamie, like apparently she had a falling out with Jamie Hayter. She had a falling out with there's a lot of people in that company now that she has had a falling out with, which makes me believe at this point that you might have to make a decision to get rid of her because you're very, very close, in my opinion, to losing that locker room for the women's side. It's getting to that point. The
For like
longer
the fifth
that
time too, by the way.
But now it's going to be worse because you have someone in Mercedes that is making so much money and is producing the least out of that locker room. And now you have everything that's happened with Britt Baker. And everything that is kind of, and because she still has a lot of that talenteer in there. Like, you now have to look at this and think to yourself, this could be the end. Because now it's Mariah May is the women's champion. But how long is it going to be before Mercedes wants that belt too? And because of the fact that she has creative control,
brother,
I cannot believe that you gave her all of this and you expected her to make everything better when she's made everything worse.
Yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
And the biggest feud that you had for her is pissed down the drain, and it drew you nothing. Nobody wants to see her and Toni Storm because they know how that's going to end. This was really the only feud because it was the OG. In my opinion, at certain points, Britt Baker, I used to say, was a better version of Mercedes Moné than Mercedes Moné was. Or when she was Sasha Banks in WWE. I used to think, because I thought she's a much better promo, and she had some decent matches. But it's obvious that she was fully exposed this weekend by a much better talent.
Hold on. I agree, but I also think that Mercedes was just as exposed. Because
she's been exposed.
Right. I don't disagree with that. We've talked about that.
But this was Britt's opportunity to steal it.
I'll give you that. I 100% will give you that.
And she blew it.
100% agree. But I also think that it's not just on her. I almost feel like they didn't even train it all together at all. That's how it felt. Watching that match, there was zero working together. It was, here's what we should do. And they didn't practice some of the stuff they did. And it was very evident. I do want to touch on one thing real quick, because you did mention Jamie Hayter and her return. I thought it was very comical going online after that and seeing the Timu Becky Lynch comments on social media. I couldn't help but grab the picture for that reason alone, but obviously I wanted to grab it since it's kind of a big return for them in the women's division of AEW, but
I like Jamie.
I do too, but man, that new hair is something, I'll tell you, man.
It is. It's also interesting that she's pretty much her welcome back feud is going to be with Saraya, because there are rumors with Saraya that she is not going to be returning to AEW or re-signing for that matter.
Well, that explains why.
Because I'm not booked.
She wasn't booked for All In.
Yeah, that's the big rumor is in September that she's her contract is expiring, whether she re-signs or I'm assuming that she's not going to make as much money as she was. Or WWE is going to come back and say blah, 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 blah. And she'll go back there. Who knows?
Yeah.
She might be the first one to jump and then now jump with it like in the same inception of other people that they jumped while they got hot in AEW, where she got cold in WWE and then got really cold in AEW and now is going back to WWE.
I don't know. I think she had a decent run in AEW. Not in the most recent,
great.
time frame. Yeah, it wasn't great, but it wasn't
not
bad either.
Not great. I mean, she won the title at Wembley last year, which I'm sure for her was a tremendous moment considering the fact of where her career was about 2 or 3 years earlier. So, and I've always been a Paige fan anyways, like Saraya for that matter. But I've always been a fan, and she's always someone that I've always kind of rooted for. Yeah. So I hope that she makes the best decision for her. If she wants to stay in AEW and make a solid living, great. I still think, though, that she could go back to WWE, and she'd now have a decent place for her because Triple H, she was like Triple H's first, like, real, the fingerprints were all over it type kind of gimmick. And I feel like that now with him in charge, that things will be different. And that she can go and kind of get a better direction. And now, of course, CM Punk, and of course, CM Punk is probably in her ear too, because I'm sure he's pretty much like the messiah of just trying to get everybody out of that company. Kind of surprised too that Tony Khan took a shot at him openly at the press conference for that matter. Holy God. I was stunned when he was just like, well, the locker room is a lot better than it was a year ago, especially Collision. I'm like, oh, what a big man you are in that one. Like, again, I'm looking at Dynamite results.
Yeah, you're good. Did Mercedes Rader write that one too? I wonder. It's probably the thing.
I wonder why. Like,
all right, we have 2 matches left for All In. Second to last match is champion Jack Perry, TNT champion, in a coffin match against Darby Allin. This match, after the match was over, I guess I should say, also saw a brief return of It's Sting!
You paid him how much money to get on the plane? And then you had to pay Metallica to play, Seek and Destroy. So you had to pay Seek and Destroy for Metallica, and then you had to pay Sting to get on a plane for a cameo. This isn't WrestleMania 40, right? Where you brought everybody out, because that's in Philadelphia. Like, most of the guys were there that weekend. But no, it's like, I'm going to put them on a plane and I'm just going to bring them in for a 5-minute. It's like,
I think it's a hard thing.
Hi, I'm Tony Khan, and I like to piss money.
Oh, hold on. I think it's a hard thing to talk about when we talk about this, because how much is too much, number one. And if we think about it, how much is not enough if you're a guy like Stone Cold Steve Austin not wanting to come back for a run-in at WrestleMania 40. So, I don't know. I don't know.
Moving on. Fuck Jack Perry.
I agree. So we also talked about the custom belts, obviously, a little bit. We'll have to see what happens after Jack Perry, whether they have a new TNT championship, whether they rename it to God knows what, the Intercontinental, Eastern European, All-Atlantic title. Like, I don't know, man. It just seems like they spit out title names and different, variations of their titles to the point where I can't keep up anymore. I just can't.
I heard he is now bringing back the old regional title of the Tri-State Wrestling Alliance World Championship. Like, he's now, God, okay. Going back to the old Joel Goodhart days. It's fucking jerk off.
Yeah,
like it's so maddening, because it's just why are you spending this fucking much money? Why are all these people coming over on the plane for the fucking pre-show? Why? Can't we just use them in Chicago in 2 weeks? Why are you spending this much money?
I mean, I wouldn't pay that many people to go to Chicago either anyway, so what's the difference?
He needs Rob Reiner from Wolf on Wall Street. That's what he needs. He needs Rob Reiner from Wolf on Wall Street to come in and just be like, $15 million on these 3 fucking contracts? That's what you need, Tony.
Oh, man.
Holy shit.
All right, hold on. Let's save the rant. Save the rant, because I know you have one about this match, sir. Bryan Danielson defeats Swerve Strickland by submission in a title versus a career match for the AEW World Championship. Your thoughts? Do you need time, Dan? Do you need time to prepare for this?
Everybody and their mother in the last 10 years has done nothing but romanticize about the ending of WrestleMania 30 and the story of Daniel Bryan / Bryan Danielson winning the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 30. I look at that now And I think to myself, that is during one of the lowest periods in this industry's history. Not just the industry, but also the company, in the sense of that this guy is holding the major championship. And it was one that was brought on by this fan base who the casuals didn't give a shit. No one cared. I feel like that WrestleMania, between like WrestleMania 30 and WrestleMania 37, even probably like 20, between 29 and WrestleMania 37, the majority of everything that happened doesn't mean jack shit in the landscape of things. Because you look at everything now in the last 3 years and how much that company has changed, how much the production of the company, how much these guys are treated like major stars. There was Fanatics Fest a few weeks ago in New York. The only consistent talent that sold out were WWE superstars. This product is white hot. They are seen now in the same light. There were heavy hitters at this show. Peyton Manning, Carmelo Anthony, all these people, all these major sports stars. But they didn't sell out, but WWE talent did.
Yep.
Tom Brady was at that event. Derek Jeter, Kevin Durant, all these guys. There were videos of Tom Brady coming down the entryway to Hulk Hogan's Real American theme music, cupping his ear.
Yeah, I saw that video.
There are other videos of Kevin Durant getting handed custom WWE Championship belts from Triple H. Derek Jeter getting a custom New York Yankees championship from WWE. They had one of the highest presence at a show that involved some of the biggest stars on mainstream everyday. Everybody in the fucking world knows who Derek Jeter is. Everybody in the fucking world knows who Tom Brady is. And they rub shoulders with LA Knight, Cody Rhodes, Rhea Ripley, Drew McIntyre, CM Punk. And they were the only ones that sold out. It is a phenomenal accomplishment. And we are in an era where these guys are treated like real stars and look like real stars. I look at Bryan Danielson and I think to myself, you would have been champion a few times, but it would have been a transitional period. You would be my Intercontinental Champion like 100 times. Because yes, you are one of the most, he is one of the most technically sound wrestlers ever.
I agree.
I'll give him that.
Yeah,
he's one of the best I've ever seen. He's had some of the best matches that I've ever seen. But I'd never pay a ticket to see him. I just wouldn't.
Oh, man.
I just never would. Like, I don't care. I don't care.
Man.
Like, he's just, I look at him and I think to myself, now.
Yes.
And all he had to do, and I'm not even mad he left. It's not even sour grapes. I didn't care when he left.
I really didn't either.
I told them, chase the money.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done. My problem is that when you get paid this much money and you're on the back nine, because let's face it, he's on the back nine with his body. Take it easy. Think about your quality of life. And now, because of all these physical matches that he's put on, the matches against Will Ospreay, the matches against Swerve Strickland, the matches against Eddie Kingston, they're all catching up to him where now he needs major neck surgery.
Yep.
When you have a history of neck issues and concussions, of all the things I could say about WWE, I can say that they well protected you from yourself. Bryan Danielson is a perfect example of why I don't blame Vince McMahon for all the deaths in this industry. Because he falls in the category of not knowing when enough is enough. Two of the guys in his career that he emulated himself out of, one of them ended up a crippled drug addict that almost killed his wife and kids and ended up in destitute and in a wheelchair for the rest of his life and died broke and alone. And then you have the other factor. A guy that had so many concussions that went untreated, went completely insane, killed his wife and family, and then himself. Because those two didn't know when enough is enough. I'm not saying that you know when you're saying now that it's the time. Oh, this is the end. This is the end of my full-time career. Then why are you going 175 miles an hour? Why can't you just know and put a stop to it? Because it doesn't work. Those guys worked a very similar style than you and also had a very similar body type. I will give you that you didn't destroy your body like those guys did with anabolics. Very natural lifestyle. You don't eat meat. I respect it. I don't agree with it, but I respect it. I'm sorry.
Meat what?
Because I'm not booked.
Oh.
If I ever got in a fight with Bryan Danielson or like an argument or something like that, I would just be like, just eat a steak and shut the fuck up.
Have a goddamn hamburger.
Relax for Christ's sake. Like you can, if he likes natural things, I'm sure maybe he likes pot, but he also could be one of these guys too that's just like a clean living and all this. I don't fucking know. This generation, some people, it's just like Bryan Danielson is not somebody that I'm going to hang out with, okay? Like, he's just not. We're completely on two different fucking sides of the planet. I can agree with, though, that he's one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen. But the problem I have is that I know what the story is going to be after this, and I don't want to see it again.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
I just don't. And that's why it's like I don't care.
Well, let's do this. Let's play devil's advocate for a second. I agree that what you're saying is factual, right? But do you also think that there is at least some blame, which I feel like is going to be a yes, on Tony for putting him in this position in the first place?
Yes. This is And again, people would be like, well, you're not going to blame Vince McMahon. Okay. I don't blame. We didn't know what was going on in the 80s and 90s. We didn't know all these health studies about mental health and things of that nature.
Sure.
Those guys had a choice, in my opinion. And these guys have a choice now because we know now with health. If Vince McMahon could have done it maybe different, if he knew what he knew in the 80s, yeah, he probably would have done things differently.
We would hope, anyways.
We would hope. But then you read more shit about him and you're like, eh. But it is irresponsible, in my opinion, when you know someone's injury history, and it's not the first person he's done this to.
No,
he did it with Saraya too, because WWE wouldn't clear her. And then she signs with them, and miraculously their doctors are like, oh yeah, you can perform. This is also the same crack medical staff too that I'm sure he employs for the fucking Jaguars, and Lord knows their history hasn't been great either. Like, they were ranked the least at one point about taking, and then CM Punk's pretty much said it when he tore his triceps. It's like, I had to go do that myself and pay for it myself.
Yep.
They didn't give him any. And to me, it's just, I know the outcome. I know the outcome. I don't want to see the outcome.
No, I agree. I totally agree.
Like, I that's the problem I have. Like, I know the outcome. And because the last thing I need to hear about is just like, well, he can't feel anything in his left hand anymore. Oh, it's like some nerve damage or something. Like he's got something like the Arn Anderson dealt. It's just so many guys. Yeah. It's just like the neck is just how many guys of their careers have just ended from that because it caused so many other damage because it affects my legs, it affects my arms. Like, oh, God.
Well, I mean, listen, the other thing is this too. Like, if he legit needs surgery, why are you putting the belt on him? Get him out. Make him take the time to go get himself right. And if there is the unfortunate aspect of he can't come back because of that, like, sorry, not sorry. Like, shit happens. Like, his age and his previous history with injuries, especially that region of his body, might mean that he's done after that. And if that's the case, force the issue. Be like, dude, like, we're
completely irresponsible. It's completely irresponsible.
It is 100%.
You know his history. You know everything, and it's just people ask like, how can you not respect Tony Khan? And it's just like, let me count the ways. And this is a big one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is a really big one because it's like, yeah, he's paying these guys, but like, that's the problem. I understand why he's performing. Like the match with Swerve, right? Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. You're going to go balls to the wall. Swerve is an incredible talent. You're in front of 50,000. It's fucking Wembley Stadium. You're in the main event. I get it. But it's still hard to watch because it's like, I know the history. I know everything. And it's like, that's the problem.
Right. Yep.
That I have. But I will say one thing to close this out.
Yep.
His most memorable moment at WrestleMania was him getting stacked up with Edge at WrestleMania. I'm sorry.
You're such a dick.
But it's true.
It is. I mean, 100%. It doesn't make you any less of a dick for saying it, but holy shit, you're not wrong either. Oh my God. That's great.
Because I have to pay my respects to the tribal chief.
Yep. Listen, there's one thing I'll add here to that. After the match was over with Swerve at All In this year, the Bella that he's married to and their children came in and congratulated him.
Garcia.
Sorry, you're right.
It's
I'm
Garcia.
sorry. How dare
It's
I do
not
that? I forgot.
Garcia.
I know. I'm sorry. I don't want to get sued. I'm sorry. Johnny Ace's stepdaughter. I could say that too. Anyways, his son comes in, try to kind of mess around. Brian goes to pick him up, and it looks like he's about to powerbomb him, and everybody started freaking out, thinking he was going to turn heel on his son in that moment. Powerbomb his kid.
That would have been hysterical.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
I would have laughed so hard at that.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny. He announced on Dynamite tonight that if he loses, his full-time wrestling career will continue.
Oh God!
But when he loses the championship, then he will stop being his full. So it's literally the Ric Flair thing from WrestleMania 24. Yeah, but
see,
he's the champion.
There's some things that you should not just run it until the wheels fall off. Your body is one of those things that you should not run until the wheels fall off.
It just isn't. It's like, and I just love those people that are just like, they kept him out. They wouldn't clear him because they didn't want to get him past Roman Reigns. It's like, you know how many injuries they had at one fucking point?
Yeah.
If they cleared him, they would have cleared him if they could. And they ended up doing it anyways. It's just stupid of people.
The thing,
people are just so
like,
stupid.
I laugh because we talked about the Soraya injuries before, and like, she took a drop kick and freaking practically broke her back. Like, she should not have been cleared. She shouldn't have taken that move, sure. We could also say that, absolutely. But she shouldn't have been cleared at that point. What were you going to say?
The main event for All Out, it was an open challenge.
Oh, God.
The main event for All Out, Bryan Danielson will defend the AEW World Championship against Jack Perry.
Is that a fucking joke?
No, it's not.
What the fuck, man? What the actual fuck?
That's a bad word.
I know. I'm sorry.
Like, oh, God.
I mean, what the fuck is that? Like, what is that?
I wish we knew.
Is it that bad? Is your roster that bad of like, oh, we're just going to give him a win? It's like, oh, but Jack Perry? Fuck this guy. He's the reason why you lost your biggest star.
Title? Is it title for title or no?
They haven't said.
If it's title for title, I'll be somewhat okay with it. But otherwise, what the fuck?
It merges with the TMT. They merge it with the TNT championship because they're leaving TNT.
Oh man. All right.
It's no longer the TNT championship. It has been merged with the World Heavyweight Championship. I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I know why.
Yeah.
I know why that is.
Oh my God. Oh my Jesus. All right. On to lighter topics now. This weekend, WWE.
We have a pay-per-view this weekend.
Yep. We have 2 pay-per-views this weekend, actually. I believe the other pay-per-view is on Sunday.
Oh, okay.
I'll have to look that up, actually, because we can talk a little bit about that, too, at the end. I forget the actual name of it. I think it's No Mercy, maybe?
No Mercy!
It is indeed No Mercy on Sunday.
No Mercy! Yeah!
Anyways. So, the last time we talked about this, there were only, I think, 3 matches that had been announced at that point. Now we have 5 matches. We're not sure what's going to happen on Friday, but most likely, for all intents and purposes, it's probably going to stay at 5. It's typically what they've been doing lately.
Yes.
Especially the fact that this is yet another, for this year, international show. Bash in Berlin. Again, will be happening on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And we have the matches. I kind of did it in order of importance because there's a lot of great matches. Maybe not the first one, but it depends on your opinion, I guess. So the first match listed here is going to be the Unholy Union, the tag team champions for the women's division, Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, against Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. So this is a rematch from Clash at the Castle, I believe. If not, I forget what it was last time. I think they might have had a one-on-one for the tag titles last time. I forget. But I don't know. I don't see them losing the titles.
I feel like them winning the titles was more because of I think it was Isla Dawn's mother dying that weekend or something. And of course they were in her home country, so there was that, hey, there's that factor in there. I could see it going either way.
I agree.
But I think Bianca and Jade is, for me, the safe bet. And also, like, they got to do something with them. It's like, just make them champions. Just keep them as champions for a while. Like,
but do you
build up the division.
Oh, hold on. I don't disagree with you, but I think the women's tag division, it is in a decent spot right now.
Yes.
But having said that, do you start planting the seeds of Bianca versus Jade, or do you feel it's too soon?
Too soon.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I think it's a WrestleMania match. You don't want to blow it. So
yeah, but it's going into September, so I mean we're getting to that stage anyways. That's why I'm asking.
That's true, but I think if you're going to plant the seeds, it probably should be like around the Royal Rumble or maybe Elimination Chamber.
I would do it a little bit before. Maybe like if they have a December show this year, maybe do it then.
Yeah, maybe do it then, or like Survivor Series. Maybe they're involved in a Survivor Series moment at War Games where one of them costs the other or something. That could be a possibility. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I see what you're saying. So if that's the case, though, I think they need to go on a little bit of a losing streak then at that point, just to kind of build the disbelief right there, but not start it initially. Start it as a losing streak, though.
Still over like Rover on Jade.
Yeah,
even with her moments of there's still, I think, really, people are really still high on her. So I think that there's always, which, I keep saying that over time, but you look at like John Cena. Cena was never, in my opinion, perfect. He did get better over time, and he had the ability to have.
Did he though? He
did. I even hate admitting it, but there were some damn good matches between like 2005, 2006. There were moments of like, but then like he had watchable matches, and like 07, he had watchable matches, and well, even the Edge feud was watchable. But like he did get better as far as like work rate matches, like the match he had with CM Punk, the matches he had with AJ Styles. Like,
two talents that could carry his ass. Yeah, I mean, put it that way.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. Fuck Cena. Yeah.
I agree. Anyway, moving on to the next match that I assume will probably be the second match of the evening. The Terror Twins, as they're starting to be called. Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley to take on the Women's World Champion, Liv Morgan, as well as Dirty Dom Douchebag Mysterio.
I mean, again, it's a tag team match, so the heels losing is always a good possibility. I don't know though with the story if it is a good idea getting the baby faces over to get a good. I don't know. This is one where maybe I feel like you have to kind of have a non-finish. You know, like everybody's disqualified in the end, but everybody gets a piece of each other. But again, with a tag team match, you can have a champion lose and there not be a problem. So,
for me, I think it's going to boil down to somebody's going to win, but it's going to be by DQ. And I think
probably
it will probably be that the Judgment Day team of Dirty Dom Douchebag and Liv Morgan are probably going to lose by DQ when every other Judgment Day member probably comes in.
Finn Balor is coming for him. He's already said that.
Yeah. And listen, that's the vibe I'm getting right now. Otherwise, I don't disagree with a, no contest finish, so to speak, where nobody wins, nobody loses. Because I think you're right. I think starting this as a babyface win doesn't really do anything to further the story. You have to suspend it a little bit longer. Whether that's at Bad Blood, whether that's at Survivor Series, that's open for debate. But I think you're right. I think that's how it should go down.
Yeah. It can't be anything clean. It has to somewhat be, because I don't think anybody really wants to see them lose yet. It's still really early on where, as far as I'm concerned, it's still really on in this thing where you don't have to have somebody or conclusive winner. You can still make some more money off this baby to keep it going.
That's exactly what I was going to say too. You can still make money off of this and prolong the story even longer. And listen, it's what they did with Sami Zayn with the Bloodline. It's supposed to be like a 2 to 4 week angle. They stretched it to 6 months because it printed fucking money. Print me money, damn it! Print me money!
Print me money!
All right, so the next match, or at least what I assume will be the next match, because let's be real, they might do it this way, they might not, but it's going to be probably one of the last 3 matches of the evening. Strap match between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
Look in my eyes, what do you see?
Live and in living color in Berlin.
Punk's gonna beat me finally. Well, the thing with the strap match is no one really loses again because you're touching the 4 corners unless they work it in where the pinfall is going to be involved. But I feel like Drew needs to lose this to kind of tie this thing up. And then you have the rubber match, probably at Bad Blood and Hell in a Cell.
That would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, or somehow Punk loses or something. I don't know. But I'm going to go with Punk here. I think this match is going to be probably one of the better ones of the night. Only because of the fact that I think that it's going to be brutal as hell.
Yeah.
Because you have 2 guys that are willing to kind of go that extra mile as far as brutalizing with each other.
Yep.
So I think that, but I think Punk's going to get a win back here.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And if they do it that way, they could prolong it even further, or they could tie it up. They could do one or the other. So
right.
I don't hate it either way in that respect. I would not book Drew to win this match. Listen, I am loving the story, and whether they tie it up or whether they don't and prolong it, I'm going to be happy either way because this story has been probably one of the better audibles of the year. You
I
had
agree.
a lot of great audibles this year. Don't get me wrong. You had the whole story around WrestleMania 40 and the main events of both nights with Cody and Rock, and Seth and Roman, the Bloodline, Jey Uso, and that was a good audible. This was too. And they've been able to do it at various times throughout the year, with both of them not even being on television in some cases, with Punk being injured, all those things. And they've made it must-see TV, kind of like we've been talking about pretty much all year at this point.
Right.
They've just been able to do it. It's been great. So if this is the end of it, I'll be happy if CM Punk wins or if he loses. If they prolong it because he wins or loses, I'll be happy with that too. So
I
that
agree.
brings me to one of the World Championship matches. Cody Rhodes defending his Universal Undisputed, whatever the hell it's being called these days, title against another babyface in Kevin Owens. So I'm conflicted on this one because, listen, I think Cody's going to win, but there's been really no build for this, I feel like.
Again, Kevin Owens is in the spot of his career where it's like he's in that 50-50 spot where you don't know if he's going to win or lose some matches.
True. Give you
Which
that.
is fine. I mean, that gives him that, because you look at the other match that we're talking about where where that opponent is coming in with a losing streak and some major matches as well.
Yep.
But he's in a position where he can call his shots because of his, notoriety and his veteran status. Yeah. Kevin Owens has earned that right. But again, it's become clear to me that anything involved with Cody Rhodes, I feel like is just a placeholder for a bigger, because he has not had a real quality opponent, like as far as win-loss record is concerned, or somebody that's coming in. Everybody that I feel like that he's faced is either coming in really cold or really hasn't been doing anything.
Do you mean his World Championship run?
Yes.
Okay.
And I feel like that's part of the problem of why people are kind of hesitant. Mind you, again, it's fine because I don't think it's hurt his drawing power whatsoever.
Absolutely.
But
not.
again, you have a lot of people still complaining, mostly online, that they are underwhelmed by his title reign. And it's like, again, Roman Reigns, when he won the title the first year, 6 months to a year, was nothing. It takes time. It takes time. And also, you're trying to work with the other main storyline, which is the bloodline, which doesn't involve him. So, yeah, it's a little difficult. But at the same time, I'm trying to stay positive with Cody because I feel like none of this is his fault.
Well, we've talked about that. It's not.
Yeah.
Let's just get that out of the way now. It's not. We both feel the same way about that. We both agree that his title reign has been good. It's lacked strong opponents, but that's not his fault.
Not his fault.
It's just not. And I know there's people that will sit there and be like, oh, yes, it is. He sucks and, whatever else. But that's just like your opinion, man. Like,
Yeah.
It just is. I listen, like, I respect the opinion because I see it
I'm
too.
the dude.
I'm the dude, man. Listen, like I see it from both sides. I do see the sentiment of his reign has been a little bit weak. But again, if you really look at the quality of opponents, listen, he put on a 5-star match in his first title defense against AJ Styles.
Yep.
And that can't be understated, and it sets a tone. It's just the fact of the other opponents have been a little bit lackluster.
Yes.
And again, I do not hold that against Cody. Does anybody really give a shit that he fought Solo Sikoa? No.
No.
Do people give a shit he's facing KO? Some do, some don't. And listen, again, that is all coming down to an opinion. But I'm not going to hold it against him. I think he carried Solo as best he could. Was it a great match? Right. No. But what does everybody remember from that match anyways? Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns.
So yes. Exactly. And it
doesn't
again,
matter.
Exactly. And is that on him either? No.
No.
It's not. So, all right. I think we could beat that to death for a million years, but I mean, I think that's, the way it is. Is there a possibility KO wins? Sure. Is it likely? Probably
highly
not.
Unlikely.
Exactly. So the next match is, in my opinion, probably going to be the main event. It is, after all, Bash in Berlin. This man, Gunther, your world heavyweight champion, is from one country over, I believe, geography, in Austria. And he's facing a 20-plus year veteran, multiple-time world champion, the Viper, Randy Orton.
Again, with the Randy Orton thing, it's veteran status, multiple-time world champion. He can call a shot when he can, but coming into this match cold. And it's also obvious that they are trying to prop it up. This is giving, Gunther that veteran status the way that AJ Styles was for Cody, that first opponent
Absolutely.
to kind of be able to start off your title reign with somebody that has extremely high credentials.
Well, also both being former world champions as well.
Exactly.
Not just the veteran status. I am totally agreeing there, but also a veteran status as a former world champion, I think can't be understated either. But go ahead. I apologize.
No, it's fine. But no, I think that I look at Randy and I look at AJ and I look at the same sense of both guys of just, yes, veteran status, but also the high credentials, the multiple time world championships, all that, the notoriety. And it also kind of, because some people may not know who Gunther is, because again, they've gotten into this stuff after WrestleMania 40. So that WrestleMania 40, they saw him lose. So really, this is their kind of his coming out party is maybe, but also now in front of his home environment. So it's going to be another hometown big crowd for him. Which is why when I heard that this was right after SummerSlam and he was on the main ice in the championship match, I was like, you can guarantee it that this is what they're doing. And I don't see him losing. I just don't. And he doesn't have to lose either. I think that Randy Orton is in a place where it's like he can lose to Gunther and no one's going to really bat an eye to it. Because I think everybody's coming into this knowing that Gunther's going to retain because they're going to make him champion for a long time. So.
I agree. Listen, love me some Randy Orton. Is he going to, eventually move into second place and maybe break records as a multiple-time world champion? I butchered that, I apologize. But is he going to do it? Maybe. He's still got time, I feel like. He came back.
But not tonight.
Yeah. He came back in great shape, especially after major neck surgery. He looks probably the best he's ever looked, in my opinion. But you're right. It's not your night, kid. And Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, wherever you are, maybe it's even Saturday overnight in the morning, whatever. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Whatever it is, it's not your day, guy. And I'm sorry to say that because I do love Randy Orton. He's had a very, very historic career in the business, coming in at 22, 23 years old, being probably, if not the youngest champion, both world champion and in company history, cannot be understated. He is a multi-generational talent. It's just not your night, my guy. Gunther is going to retain. I would say one more thing on top of that towards the Randy Orton situation, and that is this is just one of those builds where whether it's at 41 or 42, he is going to challenge Cody Rhodes eventually. They get him away from Cody for a little bit, a couple months, whatever the case may be, to do this stuff with Gunther. He's going to go back eventually, whether it's as a babyface or a heel, and he is absolutely going to challenge for Cody Rhodes' undisputed championship at some point. The writing is on the wall. Whether that's this year, depending on The Rock and his schedule, or Roman and his schedule, whether that's at 42 and all of that's over. Obviously, it's too far away to kind of tell that right now. Or if it's just something that happens randomly at Bad Blood or at Survivor Series, who knows? But at some point, Randy Orton is going to challenge for the Undisputed Championship. It's natural progression of Cody and him, I feel like. Both being in Legacy together with Ted DiBiase Jr., everything that's gone on, all the stories.
The
they
real
tell
talent of
each
that
other.
group, let me tell you. Ted DiBiase Jr. was the real talent, the most talented guy of that entire group.
Plead the fifth.
Actually, we're going to say that I think it was Jimmy Snuka's son that was in that. I forgot his name.
Too, man.
Yeah,
I
but it's
forgot
like,
he was even in that.
yeah, like he was in that for about 4 minutes, and then they came to their senses. It's just like, oh, he's terrible. Okay,
Yeah.
gotta get him out of here.
Which, what they should realize about being terrible is Tongaloa.
Oh my god.
Probably needs to get realized very quickly about how bad he actually is.
It's like, oh, you're the Marty Jannetty, except worse.
Except worse is right.
Because Marty can actually work. Like that's the thing. Like Marty was actually decent. He just went insane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, this guy is just what the hell. Like now everything's starting to come out. Like people are showing me stuff from Japan that he's done. I'm like, how did he get signed again? Like, oh, okay. He knows the right people.
Oh man, I don't know what it is, man, but like the more I see from Tongaloa, past, present, and probably in the future, it's not going to change my opinion that he is just bad. And I hate saying that because the new Bloodline isn't awful. It's not good, but it's not awful, and the way they present them is pretty well done, I would say, if anything. Man, like. Even though he botched a fucking low blow of all moves.
I know.
Like, what's going on?
I know. I just, there's not much else I could say because it's I look at his track record and I'm just like, oh my God, he is terrible. Like, he's terrible at this.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, he belongs not in a major company. Let me just say that. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know at this point. Like, jeez.
And you know what? You know what baffles me the most of this whole situation is poor Jacob Fatu, man. I know they wanted the Girls of Destiny to have the belts together.
Yes.
But then he got hurt, so they put in Jacob Fatu. And now it's just like, Jacob, give your title to me. Actually, give it to Tongaloa. Dude can't even hold a belt correctly, for Christ's sake, in the first place. But hey, just give him the belt anyways. You need to be my enforcer. Like, what? Come on.
Just the Freebird route, stupid.
I know. I know. I'm just like, oh my God.
Why do you need, there's 5 of you. Well, there's 4 of you. There's 5 of you. There's 6 of you. There's 7 of you. Why don't you just have multiple partners?
It's like the Bullet Club of old, where they just rotated members every fucking 5
my
days or
God.
whatever, man. It's just, come on.
I'm waiting for Bad Luck Fale to walk in the door.
I'm waiting for Zilla Fatu to walk in, too. Ugh.
Well, he might jump over the other side. That's what their rumor is. He might be in the OG bloodline.
That's what
I'm
I've
a
heard,
firm
too.
believer that
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer though that the original it should be the original bloodline, including Sami Zayn. Sammy has
I
to
would
be
be down
involved.
for that. Yeah, I would be down for that. Yeah,
I would have
absolutely.
Sammy involved in this so hard, just because of the fact that what a story arc that would be, of like, oh, they, and now he's finally accepted, and like it's not a joke anymore, like it's legit, and everybody at the end, like, I don't know, like that Roman accepting him finally, that pop would be massive.
Yeah.
Like it would just be huge, like an all-time feel-good moment where everybody starts like almost tear. You're like, fuck, like what's that in my eye? Like just that moment, you're just like,
Yep.
yeah. I feel like with Sammy, you got to have him involved in this.
Yeah.
And
It's funny you say it, because I was thinking the same thing probably a week or two ago. I'm like, if you're going to do war games with OG Bloodline versus Nuo, whatever the hell Bloodline, you got to have Sammy on the whole Bloodline team. You have to.
yes, you do. Like you do. I feel like that. Just the pop would be huge, like just so huge, and just have that run like with him. And now your baby faces, like it's just print me money.
Yep.
Like it just spells it out for you right there. Like in my humble opinion, that's probably the best story you could tell right now.
Absolutely. So, speaking of printing money, I didn't prepare a slide for this, but I figure we'll talk about it just very, very quickly at the end here. So, as I said, No Mercy is also this weekend. This is on Sunday. So, No Mercy is going to be at the Ball Arena in Denver. I have a lot of matches here. All of them, except for one, is for a title. So I'm just going to kind of go through them. I think we'll probably talk about the last match the most, so just let me get through them all. So this is just the order that I see it in, so that's what I'm going off of. Plus the last match is almost certainly going to be the main event anyways. First match, however, listed here is Roxanne Perez versus Jada Parker for the NXT Women's Championship. We also have Kalani Jordan and Wendy Cho for the NXT Women's North American Championship. For the NXT North American Championship on the men's side, Oba Femi is taking on Tony D'Angelo. Chase U, which is going to be Andre Chase, and Ridge Holland apparently is in Chase U now. I didn't know that.
Fuck.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. So it shows how much I watch NXT these days. They will be taking on former champions Nathan Frazier and Axiom for the NXT Tag Team Champions. Wes Lee is taking on Zachary Wentz. That is the only non-title match of the evening. And then, with special guest referee Trick Williams, which was just announced last night on Tuesday this week for NXT, he will be special guest referee for Ethan Page, current NXT champion, versus TNA darling, I Believe in Joe Hendry. This is shaping up to be a really good card. I'll say it that way. What do you mean, no?
No.
What do you mean, no?
He's not in the main event.
What do you mean he's not the main event?
He's not in the main event, is he?
Who?
You're joking. You're joking.
He's in the main event. It's a title. It's the NXT Championship match. Of course it's the main event.
But why?
What do you mean, why?
But why?
But why?
But why?
But why?
But why is he even in the championship match?
Honestly, Dan, I think he's walking out champion.
Ah, fuck.
If he's not walking out champion, he's gonna come back and challenge again in the future, maybe as a WWE talent, but he's gonna be NXT champion at some point. Whether that's now or 2 months from now or next year, I don't know. But he's gonna be NXT World Champion. And I would not be surprised the way they're building it up if Joe Hendry walks out, you're NXT champion.
Smoke.
You're
I
like stunned.
believe Joe Hendry.
Done.
It is. I mean, it
Listen.
would be historic. It would be historic,
It would.
for that matter. Something I felt like they should have done for Jordan Grace.
I 100% agree with you.
100%.
But she's
You know
going
what? Fuck it.
at some point too.
She's gonna be she's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
But I gotta give them credit of just them willing to. Oh, this guy's over. Yeah, who cares if he doesn't work for us? Let's see if we can work something out. Like, you got
But
it.
there's something there though, and he's come forward and said this in interviews that there's something unique that they have with him where he is a TNA talent, but he's able to work at the performance center too. So
Yeah.
listen, being realistic for a second, neither one of us know what that actually means.
No.
We just don't. And that's fair to say. We just don't know. So does he have some kind of a joint contract where he's working X dates there, X dates here? Does he have maybe a clause built into his TNA contract for that? Does he have some kind of a WWE date clause that he's able to work certain dates there? Like, we just don't know what it is, right? There's some handshake agreement. Maybe there's something on paper. We have zero clue. We're just going based off of speculation, given what he has said in interviews. So maybe there is something there. I just don't know. But again, here's the biggest thing and the biggest tell for me is that you now have Trick as your special guest referee. If that doesn't happen, I would say maybe there's a shot, but most likely not. Now there's that element with Trick as your special guest referee. So maybe sit there and say, hey, listen, maybe it is going to happen.
Maybe this also could bring in a tie-in with somebody else in TNA.
I agree.
Maybe Moose.
Moose has expressed interest for sure, yeah.
You bring in Moose, somebody else from TNA to kind of set up like, where Joe Hendry doesn't win, but then you can do a TNA versus NXT type like tag team match at a future show, which would bring a lot of more eyes, because really it's not, this whole thing is not, this is the amazing part about this whole deal. They have not made this about NXT versus TNA at all. It's just, oh yeah, he's from TNA.
Yeah.
That's the unique part about this. Because it's just, oh yeah, he's from TNA. It's not from the Invader from TNA Wrestling. Well, he's from TNA. Completely different.
I think it's a little bit more of a reaction, but yeah, it's not like the Invader stories or anything like that.
No,
I
it's
agree.
not, but it's like, hey, it's Joe Hendry from TNA Wrestling. Cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's the way it is. I'm not saying it's like, it's not a big deal. Like, and TNA.
No, I
Yeah.
I get it.
I'm just, but this is, it's fun. It's kind of fun to kind of think about, and it is a really, how many people are going to go batshit if Joe Hendry wins the title? Because then it's like a TNA wrestler is now the NXT champion. what kind of universe are we in? Especially too, where 20 years ago, you think about how much TNA wrestling itself was trying to get so much market share from WWE, and now it's like, oh yeah, you guys are working together now. Yeah, all right, cool, we'll do that.
The thing for me too is, and I know people that are going to be out there be like, "Oh wow, Joe Hendry's TNA, you shouldn't win the belt." I have two statements. The first is a question: why the fuck not? What does it matter? And past that, right? Past like it shouldn't matter. Why can't he be champion? Put the belt on him for like 2 months, 3 months, whatever. Since he has that handshake agreement or whatever the fuck agreement it is, because let's be real, we have no idea. I also apologize for swearing, by the
That's
way.
a bad
Sorry.
word.
But why can't we do that? Why can't we just put the belt on him for a little bit, have him be the champion, and then he could just drop it back to Ethan Page if he wants to? Or whatever the hell Shawn Michaels wants to do. It doesn't matter. But I don't see anything wrong with that. I didn't see anything wrong with it with Jordan Grace either. You could have done the exact same thing and just drop it back to Roxanne Perez. Then Roxanne would probably be able to say, hey, I'm a 3-time NXT Women's Champion. Nobody else can say that. It just makes sense. Do something different. And if you do something different, you draw more eyes. Plus, you draw the crowd from TNA because now they want to see that TNA talent on your show be your champion.
That's why I feel like Shawn Michaels at this point has a legitimate case to be Booker of the Year.
He absolutely does.
Between him and Triple H, it's just like, wow, you guys really know what you're doing. Especially too with some of the character growth for these talents of just, they really have talent now. I feel like that can, especially with like Trick Williams, Roxanne. I feel like that they have stars that they can count on within the next 5 to 10 years. And that's important because I feel like that especially with the age problem, I feel like the company has had. But also too, now it's just, you're opening up barriers. You're now willing to work with other talents and other companies. It's amazing. And the fact that a TNA wrestler is working for NXT and now challenging for their main championship is astounding to me. Like, even in 2024, this to me is historic because this proves to me that this company is saying, fuck it. We'll work with anybody except you, Tony. But no, it's amazing. The fact that they've had Jordan Grace challenge for the NXT Women's Championship and then had her at the Royal Rumble. And now all of a sudden it's just like, hey, Joe Hendry, you're over. Why don't you come work for us for a bit? Fuck it. All right. Like,
I think it's also the long game too. I think Jordan Grace is going to be a WWE talent whenever her contract expires. I also think the same about Joe Hendry at this point. When he was in the Battle Royal, I don't know if I would have said the same thing because he got knocked out within 5 seconds. But, I think it was a test.
I hate to even say this, but at the same time, you got Jordan Grace. Go get Jonathan Grisham too at the same time. And I know, I know I've made fun of his height a lot, but from what I've seen from him, anyways, I always thought he was a good talent. So I feel like it's just see if he wants to come over. See if he wants to make a living and see what and make that another WWE couple. you know, because it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that you got to kind of, and I feel like he'd be motivated because he had his issues with Tony Khan. And I feel like that when you're involved in a war, so to speak, because let's face it with Tony, you're in a war still because you're going to have somebody that's always going to be competitive with free agent talents. But also at the same time, and Jim Cornette has speculated on this, he feels like that they are just bidding talents up so that way he'll pay way more than they know that they're going to be able to pay this guy. But of course, they're willing to pay for the talents that they want to keep. Like they just gave Randy Orton a 5-year extension. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, I'm sure, are going to get well compensated. I know their contracts are up at the end of the year. Like there's going to be talents that is just they're going to keep. They're going to be able to extend. And also at the same time, I think that they know that it's a different place and they're not going to get booked into oblivion anymore. Like everything is done for a fucking reason. And I also think that they're going to also want to get some of the new generation going because in the next 5 years, the talents that's on this card, they're going to be on the main roster. And there's going to be a lot of the talents that we're currently watching that will not be there in 5 years. Just because they're going to age out or they're just going to want to retire. Like, do I think Rollins is going to be active in 5 years? I don't know.
That depends on his back and his knee, I feel like. But you have a point. The thing is, too, it's like they care a lot more about the health than they did, say, even 5-10 years ago. Right? They care about the longevity as well. You look at guys like AJ, you look at guys like Brock that are still in their are over 40, pushing late 40s, and still show a lot of great talent. And I don't think that if this was just thinking objectively for a second, let's just say 20 years ago, that's not the case. You know, a lot of guys back then retiring before 40. A lot. Do you still have some that are wrestle after 40? Yeah. Some of them don't look good doing it, though. But, you know, they're able to make it work, and God bless. But, you know, Cody himself, he's like, I'm going to stop at 40. Now he's saying this year, he's just like, no, I'm going to just wrestle till I can. And once I'm done, I'm done. But it's not 40 anymore. Is that because he hit his stride late in his career? Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely it is. He said the same thing. He said it. But at the same token, there might be some that are not going to do that. They might hit the 40 and be like, I'm going to pass. You know, and you look at a guy like Roman, and I know there were gripes there, myself included, with his long title reign where he was defending it less and less and less to the point where he defended it maybe, 2 or 3 times in 2023 to 2024, give or take. Okay. Does that increase the longevity of his career, though? That's another question that needs to be asked.
I have to also look at his health as a big reason.
Oh, I agree.
For his,
I don't disagree with that.
It's just, you know, I've, as recent events in my own personal life recently, his perspective and his schedule and the room, and you know, it's him having to come out and say that, you know, I'm still taking oral chemotherapy. It's like, yeah, I get it now.
Yeah,
absolutely. I understand. You've earned the right.
Yeah.
And also he's been on, you know, and also he's set the table for the next generation and the generations after, because he was able to put top guys in the position now to say, fuck you, no. Yeah. And he did it at one point. He walked out of a WrestleMania and said, I'm not doing it.
Yep.
And you know what happened? He came back and they gave him the title for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he just said, fuck you, I'm going home. And he got everything he wanted anyways. Because when you have that ability to draw money and there's nobody else under you, you can tell them to say fuck off. And he needed to say that. And I'm glad he said it because it's made this industry a lot healthier because of it. Because
Let's be real for a second too. They're booking him like shit at that point too.
they were. They absolutely were. And when he came back, he says, I want Paul and I to write this thing. And it's just like, what the fuck is Vince going to do? You know, because he's got nothing going on because the pandemic is just like keeps going on. So he's just like, well, yeah, what else am I going to do? And you got fucking Fox breathing down your neck.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it's like you're on network TV. You got to draw something. Which, to be fair, I mean, and Roman was able to get them really respectable numbers on Friday nights.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
he did a hell of a job. Like that, that's the thing with when people talk about John Cena and Roman Reigns and why I think Roman will always be better, because he actually drew people in where Cena lost people. Yeah. And Roman brought everybody back. And Cody Rhodes has, even though people can criticize his title reign currently and the current crop of what's been going on, he's been a success because the houses aren't dwindling and the ratings are still solid enough. They only drop in numbers. They only drop in numbers when they're expected to drop in numbers because of other factors going on.
Yeah, like the PLEs. But the one thing I would say about Cody is he has kept upright and provided a solid foundation to what Roman has helped build.
Yes.
And he has also helped build on that by his programs with Roman. And I don't think that can be understated. Yeah, I agree and I understand the sentiment about the fact that, yeah, people aren't really keen on his title reigns yet. I get it, but as we said earlier, that's not really on him. I think that we kind of talked about this earlier with respect to the Fanatic Fest. Dude, they're just pumping on all cylinders. They have not really had many duds this year in terms of the PLE. Maybe one, maybe parts of others, but there was one stinker out of the bunch for the entire calendar year so far. Only one, what I say, was a stinker. Did they have some bad matches mixed into some of this? Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Did they have some bad television at times? Yeah, absolutely. But they have
not
been
horrible.
Exactly. No, not at all.
They have not put out anything horrible in the last 2 years. And that is something that I can sit there, and especially their television, their weekly TV, is miles better than where they were 5 years ago.
Oh God, yeah.
Everything 5 years ago is like, that's why it's like it's hard for me to look back at like the Daniel Bryans and all that shit, because then it's like I get the bad memories and everything. Not that they were a part, that they were the reason for it. It's just the fact that everything was bad and no one cared. But now everybody cares. Everybody's happy about the product. So that's when I'm like, okay, things are good. Because things are good. Things are better. Things are a lot better. Like, things are, everything, the shows are watchable. You can't miss a PLE. Yeah, you can miss a show here or there on TV every week, but you can catch some fucking highlights.
Yep.
But you can't miss a PLE because you know some major shit's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen either, because everything's been predictable, but how you get there has been so much better because there's so many threads that are being pulled. there's so many things that are being tied up, these loose ends. You know, like Vince McMahon started the Shield breakup, but Triple H was somehow able to finish it 10 years later.
Yeah.
It's just say, fuck it. I'm going to do it better. Like, he's been able now to just write these stories that mean something. Yes, we know what's going to happen. We know this weekend what's probably going to happen. That's why most of the time on this show, we're usually right at these shows.
Yeah.
The problem is that we don't know how we're going to get there. And that's the good thing about
But
this.
that's what makes this engaging. Is that
Yes.
you're right. We don't know. Is there some predictability to certain things? Yeah, absolutely. But that's typically the case with wrestling anyways. At least
Yes.
for those that are educated in it enough and know enough about it, you can sit there and say, yeah, there's some predictability. But let's talk about WrestleMania last year just for a quick second. Did we know that Damian Priest was going to cash in? Yeah, at some point. Did we know it was going to be because CM Punk tripped Drew McIntyre after he just won the World Championship? Absolutely not.
No.
That made it engaging. Did we know then that, okay, now they're going to have a program that's going to span like 6-7+ months and it's going to be must-see TV? Hell no, we didn't know that. But it's been engaging. Did we know that Dom was going to end up with Liv? Yeah. Yeah, we did. Did
One of
we
my
know that it
favorite-
was going to be with Rhea, like, freaking Mel Gibsoning herself from Lethal Weapon, shoving her shoulder back in place? No. And it was fucking awesome. Yeah,
My
wrestling is
fav-
fun. But same token, it's just, oh, it's so good sometimes. Go ahead.
My favorite facial reaction of the year still is when Punk heard Damian Priest's music after he fucked McIntyre over. Like, he just attacked McIntyre. And he's just smiling because he knows, like, I just fucked you. Like, he just, like, you almost felt like the smirk on his face of just like he knew the whole time. Like, this was his plan.
Speaking of which, real quick, there's an edit of that with Joe Hendry's music.
Of course.
And because he claps at one point for Damian Priest, and they clipped it perfectly. It was so funny, dude. It's like, all of a sudden the music hits, I believe in Joe Hendry, and he turns around, and then there's the clap, and CM Punk claps right after. It's so good. It's so good.
Oh, but yeah, it should be another weekend of good wrestling for WWE with two PLEs. One with the main roster of talent, which is headlined by the hometown boy in Bash in Berlin, in Gunther, the current world heavyweight champion of Monday Night Raw, and he will probably be walking out victorious. It's like a 99 percentile, except, RKO out of nowhere at any point. And can Joe Hendry make history? Can Joe Hendry do something that many people, including myself, would have thought was impossible in this company's history? The fact of another contracted wrestler coming in and winning a world championship. Virtually unheard of in World Wrestling Entertainment. And that's very well could be the possibility that happens on Sunday. So it very well could be a very historic weekend that people might want to tune in, especially on Sunday, to see if history is made. Because it very well could be a very historic moment, a very key moment in professional wrestling history this Sunday night if Joe Hendry walks out with the world championship. It is something definitely I think people need to pay attention to.
Absolutely.
Because it could have historic implications on the future of this industry. Not only for WWE and their open door policy, but also for the smaller companies. I'm not saying that they're going to work with AEW down the line. That's always a possibility, though. In this market, it's always a possibility, especially if some organization gets desperate enough.
Yeah.
But you never know. But I think it is something definitely people should pay attention to. I have nothing else to bring to the table,
Neither do I.
Mac,
think we're done.
unless you want to. Okay.
No, I think we're good at this point.
But be sure again to watch us here on Diamond Podcasting Productions on YouTube. Subscribe us on there, or on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Look for PWW Talks. So, on behalf of myself, Mac, and the rest of the PWW crew, thanks again for listening.
I will add one more thing, actually, before we go. If you are in the United States, enjoy your 3-day weekend this weekend.
Oh, yes. That is true.
And with that,
Because I'm not booked.
bye.
I'm not booked. Bye.